What's up? Hello. Um, Welcome. Okay, so if you haven't been to this channel, then good to see you today. All right. So I'm talking about all things Matric. Alrighty. Let's get right into it. Okay, so you have written your June exams. You have written your prelims. If prelims are still a thing, you've written your finals. Okay, now you've got anxiety, you're stressed out, you're waiting for your matric results. Lucky for you, you don't have to go through public embarrassment. You don't have to go through relatives checking out your results in a newspaper. At least for you, it's a private endeavor. Okay, but you're a little bit stressed because you did okay in grade 11, but you've applied for some pretty tough programs and you haven't gotten into those into those programs. I almost said into those products. I'm just like, what? Into those programs with the marks that you got in grade 11. And you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? My parents said I have to go to school. My parents said I have to get a degree. My friends are all going to tux, or my friends are all going to university, and what am I going to do? I didn't even get into college. Oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. No, it is not the end of the world. Okay, so you're actually at an advantage, all right? Because sometimes people get admitted into programs and those are not even programs that are suited to them. Okay, it's not suited for their skill set, in terms of their natural acumen, in terms of their talents, in terms of their actual preferences, desires. And what happens is when they get into university, they learn the hard way that maybe what they thought they like doing, they don't actually like doing. And it takes them some time. You know, some people are fortunate. They have the right support structures. They've got the right money. They've got the right connections in terms of, yeah, inspiration and motivation. Other people have it a little bit different, a little bit difficult, where you don't have a lot of resources, you don't have the bursaries, you don't have the scholarships, you don't have the handouts, and you don't have the network, you don't have the connections, you don't have anything. All you have is God, which is all you need, of course. However, with regards to anything typical, you don't have anything, right? And you're like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? I don't have bursary options. I don't have, there's so many stress factors that a person thinks about. Okay, and this video is not going to be about NSFAS or loans or student loans or nothing like that. I'm going to talk about intrinsic principles, so what's happening on the inside. Okay, so now you're stressed out and you're worried and you're anxious and you don't know, like, okay, did I pass? That's the first thing you're worried about. Okay, second thing, you're like, okay, I didn't get into any of the institutions that I want to go to. What am I going to do? Okay, and third, you're like, what if I failed? Right? So those are the three big things. Did I pass? Didn't get into the institutions that I wanted to get into, or any institutions at all? And did I fail? What do I do now? All right, so first things first. Okay, perhaps you just didn't get in, and you're not worried about passing. You're just like, did I get in? Right? That's your biggest concern. And you didn't get in, so you got your feedback, you were rejected, it's not happening, and you're just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna go to the institution I wanted to go to. What am I going to do? I didn't get into the institution that I wanted to get into. I didn't get into the program that I wanted to get into. It's actually not that deep. Okay, it's not that deep. It's not the end of the world. You've got a lot of options. What you can do is you can start applying for work. Okay, because traditionally people think like a gap year is just like traveling the world and, like, you know, going all over and everywhere, and but not really, not necessarily. A gap year could also just be you just being still, figuring out your life, and just learning who you are, because for the past 12 years of your life you have been living some identity that has been sold to you. You know, the identity has been given to you by your parents, the identity has been given to you by your school, and that identity is probably a false identity. You've probably been the class clown, or you've been the popular girl, or you've been the player boy, or whatever, the jock, cheerleader, whatever. All these little personas that we grow into that aren't real. They don't have much depth, and they're not genuine. Right now you need to kind of get still and ask yourself, who am I really? Like, who am I at my core? What do I want in my life? Where do I want to go? What kind of things bring me joy? Am I encouraged by money and that? Am I encouraged by and when I say encouraged, I mean like attracted by, right? Am I encouraged or attracted by money and that kind of typical wealth? Am I encouraged or attracted to like freedom in terms of time? Do I just want to have a peaceful life and not necessarily a wealthy life? Or am I trying to be artistic? Do I want to be artistic and rich? Do I want to just be free and artistic? Doesn't matter if I'm rich. And all of those things, you want to, have enough foresight to be able to ask yourself those questions. So you don't have to just be doing nothing, right? When you're taking the so-called gap year and thinking and journaling and writing all these things down. You could be working. There's plenty of jobs that you can do in the meantime, right? Jobs like becoming a promo girl or a promo boy, doing in-store promotions. You just find a marketing kind of agency or a media kind of company, and you sell yourself. And by sell yourself, I don't mean in the literal sense. I just mean you speak to the people, you go there on career day, you follow them on LinkedIn, you send them emails and you tell them, listen, this is my scenario. You send them your CV and all of that. And by the time the next year comes, whether you've got your matric results as amazing as you wish they would be or not, you've at least gotten the momentum going, right? So by the time your matric results arrive, you already have by the time your matric results come through, you already have some momentum built, and then you're like just piggybacking off of that. Okay, instead of just sitting there biting your nails, drinking, or whatever else it is that you do to get over your anxiety, you could get productive. Okay, you could really get productive during this time. And I think one thing that like many people lack sometimes is curiosity. If you ask the right questions, you'd be shocked to find what the actual answers to those questions are. For instance, let's say you fail matric, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have matric, what am I gonna do? Is my life over? No, your life is not over. There are jobs that you can do without matric, right? Right? Okay. And the good thing would be to ask, like, what kind of jobs could I do without matric? Like, I mean, Google it. Like, what kind of jobs can I do without matric? You'll see what kind of jobs exist. You might not like those jobs, but they exist. Or do I repeat? Do I have to go and repeat matric? Sure. You don't have to go and repeat matric, but repeating matric is an option, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you go around and you find a school, you upgrade your matric results, okay? Not the end of the world. Or you decide, okay, I don't want to repeat matric. Did I get into anything? Like the results that I got, do they warrant me to even go and apply for a different kind, like skills trade or something like that, right? You find out, yes, you can do that as well. So the situation here is more about perspective, where you just realize that like any outcome that you might be worried about actually has its merits, where you can still make something out of anything, right? So number one, there's no need to be anxious, there's no need to be worried, there's no need to fear the future and worry like, what if I didn't, what if anything that has happened. Like, if you passed, great. If you got into the universities you need to get into, great. If you're gonna go and study in those institutions, awesome. If you didn't get in, great. If you failed, great. All of it, everything is great, because any result that comes out, you can do something about, so for instance, if you didn't get into the institution that you wanted to get into, maybe that's for a good reason. Maybe don't go and try to force your way into that institution. But if you feel like you really want to go there and that's the only place you want to go, there's options. You can literally go and try to see, after the registration period has opened, try to see if maybe some of the students rejected their positions, and speak to get in touch with the registrar, try to communicate with them and see if there's space that's suddenly available. You'd be so surprised. They could still slot you in last minute. So there are options.